On. Cool. How's it going, everybody? We're having another gimmick segment because I need to fill episodes out and get practice on mic. I listened to a little bit of the Blacktooth and then the last two that I did. I think I did all right on War Games. I think I got my point across pretty well, but yeah, the one before that, I forget what even movie I was talking about. I think it was Waiting. Yeah, I wasn't too thrilled about the way I sounded. So yeah, we're gonna try and do something where I want to talk a little bit about filmmaking, but a lot of bit about like the importance of content and subject matter. And to do that, we're watching a documentary. So strap in if you're interested in documentary filmmaking. There's a lot of documentaries that I like, and I think I already went over with Werner Herzog when I watched Rescue Dawn about how I think he functions very well as a documentary filmmaker, but not so much as a dramatic filmmaker or a narrative filmmaker. I don't find him to be as entertaining as some people say he is, because he is very logical, and much like Errol Morris or yeah, I don't know how to steam already. Like much like them, the dramatic elements of it are more from the actual authenticity of the story, rather than relying on like tropes and gimmicks and stuff. But the functionality of the film is so like contingent on it being just an interesting story that a lot of the times the fact that, like, you know, Errol Morris did do a lot of forensic recreations, and Werner Herzog did these like kind of artistic, I guess would be an understatement, but a little bit more like dramatic, with like a mild touch of autism, whatever I'm fucking spewing right now, but like with like a mild touch, it really does like elevate the subject matter, and it gives like what wouldn't even really be like a boring or dreary subject, but it gives it like an interesting perspective and kind of rejuvenates what would otherwise be something that could be mildly visually uninteresting, or just narratively uninteresting. I like when documentaries use a lot of authentic things. So like, we're gonna watch a documentary called Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride, and it's a documentary about a subject that I really love, Dr. Hunter S Thompson, who I think I said on one of the last few podcasts, Thompson's life story is a wild one, and they're writing, or I guess wrote and directed and filmed and are now getting ready to put in theaters a film called Fear and Loathing in Aspen, which is about when he ran for the sheriff of Aspen, and yeah, like shaved his head and did a bunch of kooky shit. And I found his, like, just in general, he's one of the funnier fucking people that has ever lived. I never had the privilege really of like reading his work while he was still alive and pumping it out, because I was an infant, I think, when he was kind of like on his way out. Actually, here's a little story about myself. So when I was in middle school, my school ran out of money, and the teachers were all pissed off, and they didn't want to teach. So they really slacked for the years I was in 7th and 8th grade. And my math scores, like on all my tests and my assessments and shit, were like, my report cards were dog shit. So my dad agreed to tutor me, but he was like, yeah, I'll give you an incentive. Like, you name it, whatever you want. Being in 7th grade, I was like, he's like, if you get an A, not an A+, not an A-, like, it doesn't need to be just an A in general, I will buy you whatever you want. And I'm like thinking like PlayStation, video games, movie tickets, something. But I ended up settling on every A that I got on my report card. My dad would buy me a Playboy. So he talked me down to, if you get an A in your next report card, I'll buy you a Playboy. So sure enough, I got an A+ that semester. I got an A+ that marking period. Your boy did his homework, and I think that was the only homework I did for the entire year, because it was like such a bullshit. I don't even remember if I was in 7th or 8th, but I just remember they weren't giving a shit about teaching us. So like I actually would like come home, read the thing, do the practice tests, just get everything down. And I ended up being successful. So sure enough, my dad held up his end of the bargain and he bought me a Playboy. And it was the one where I think Natalie Portman posed naked in it. I'm not sure. There was an article about Natalie Portman that I vaguely remember, and then there was a chick from The Real Housewives. But the Playboy that I got happened to have the last few musings. It wasn't like articles or anything, but it was like just kind of like musings and observations that Dr. Thompson put out. And I remember like, 7th and 8th grade being like, boobs. But then like when I was in high school, I was also like, boobs. But wait a minute, I like the way this guy writes. Like, who is he? And through that, a little bit of Googleage, I found out that he was the guy that wrote that book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Promptly picked that up and immediately started observing, just the hilarity that was him. And he was mad. He was a fucking lunatic. And for some reason, that just attracted me in the best and worst ways. But then, like I said, I haven't read enough. I've read Kingdom of Fear, Rum Diaries, Fear and Loathing, and then a couple of articles here and there. I read, I know that I think it's mentioned in this documentary about the story of him and Nixon riding in there. And I read something about that, and it's just like I was hooked. It's fucking awesome. But yeah, documentary filmmaking is one of those things that I'm very, very particular about, and it's because Netflix has really ruined it, and I don't want to just beat a dead horse here, but I cannot express it enough, that there is something about like documentaries where you're walking this balance of entertainment and authenticity, and you cannot deviate too far into one direction, because otherwise you end up getting a based on a true story, which is mildly annoying when it's very overly dramatized for entertainment purposes. And then the authenticity, if you just present the raw data, you kind of end up with something that's very bland, not uninteresting, and like ultimately ineffective as the intent of the film. You're trying to motivate or captivate people. You're trying to inspire or shock them. You got to show them a little something to get them interested and hooked to whatever the story is. They need to be on board. So, with all that being said, I very much enjoy documentaries, and I hate when companies like Netflix just crap out these docuseries like Tiger King or Making a Murderer, where they take a rather mundane subject, in the scope of things. There's a lot going on right now, and we are so connected. We're just overloaded with content. You gotta kind of focus this shit, but it's done for the specific reason of trying to draw out viewership, as long as you can. The longer you keep them on the, hook to the thing, like any addict, you make more money off them. So yeah, I understand why they do it, but it's it's so clear. And I try to argue this point to people. It's like, oh, you complaining because it's too long? Well, what do you got better going? It's not that. It's you need to, you could have whittled this down to an hour and a half, if not an hour. The best documentary, like I said, ever made is, Hated, the G.G. Allen documentary, and it's 45 minutes long, and you will experience a roller coaster of emotions through that. You will laugh, you will cry maybe, you will definitely be grossed out. It's the best, and we're going to review that soon, I promise. But for right now, we're going to focus on Kingdom of Fear, just because I'm very, very excited about, this new Thompson movie coming out, and I want I just want to show what a baseline for a good documentary is. This is one of those films I've seen probably 30 times now, and I love every minute of it. And all the it's narrated by Nick Nolte, and all the Gary Busey shit in here is fucking hilarious. And there's a couple of these that have been put out. One of them's called Gonzo. There's one that's in the Criterion collection of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the DVD. About Thompson, but buy the ticket, take the ride all fucking day. Best one made about his life, and it follows him and his son, his ex-wife, wives, I think, actually, and a couple of other characters along the way, and Ralph Steadman and how he just fucks with Ralph Steadman, which is great. If you like a tortured artist, Ralph Steadman is like the epitome of like modern tortured artists, just because he's an artist that's tortured by another artist. But all that being said, we're gonna watch this film, and I'm just gonna kind of spoon feed what I like about it, and we're gonna probably disregard the content on the other side, because you can watch this on YouTube, and I'll add a link. I've been doing that more recently. I hope you've noticed. Trying to give you guys some access to some free shit. So let's all fucking get on board and watch Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride. Fucking A right. Hunter S Thompson is the fucking GOAT. I fucking love just anything relevant to him. I ended up watching let me start off like that. The guy that fucking directed it is some dude that I looked up. I already forget his fucking name. It's like Toby with something with an H. I don't fucking know. I'm going to post it underneath anyway. You guys can laugh at how bad I got that. But, Hunter's fucking Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride. All about him. It's a nice little documentary that utilizes a lot of the elements of documentary filmmaking that I thoroughly enjoy. It's a really fucking cool film in the sense that it gives you enough of a backstory where if you don't know who he is or didn't know who he was, you get like this kind of like sense of, oh, okay, so this guy's a writer. He's very well respected. A lot of respected authors at the time, as well as like other writers, filmmakers, musicians, actors, all like have a plethora of things to say, which is the way this film is cut together. It's at first a bunch of like vignettes about like him growing up and kind of who he was and painting the picture of who he was at his heyday. And then you get like these, this nice little, a little bit of backstory on him, where he grew up, what he did. Then from there, it just kind of envelops you in just the why and the how of his, climb, like to basically like infamy. He's one of those people where I can't even begin to describe him, but like I think a couple of his quotes really stuck out to me that just like upon rewatching this, like I'm familiar with these quotes. I probably have them saved somewhere on my computer anyway, because I do rather enjoy Hunter and his I minored in English and I enjoy screenwriting, as you guys can fucking hear me have like absolute like fucking spazzes on bad screenwriting. But I do enjoy writing, and I enjoy the writing element of not only films, but like, in this case, a documentary, but I enjoy his work. I enjoy his literature. And I remember, first off, I like that they illustrate this, and I don't know if it's like mentioned in other documentaries or like anything about him, biographies, autobiographies, a lot of his gonzo journalism. He's the main character, even though there's like events going on that was like the, focal point of whatever his story was supposed to be. But yeah, like I really do enjoy, I was going somewhere with that. You guys, I think I really do enjoy is like my trailing, like I got high and forgot what I was fucking talking about. So I'll give myself one of these. I really enjoyed that. It just means I forgot what I was fucking talking about. I'm gonna learn how to shut up one of these days. I had a really fucking long day. I want to jaw a little bit about that towards the end, but I really want to. I do want to talk about this film because it is great, and I'm gonna post a link of it in the description so everybody can check this shit out. Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride. It's just really good. I think where I was going with that was all the way that this film is presented is you get him as like a story, but then the way documentaries are supposed to kind of function is that you use testimonial, but all the testimonials are just either people that he worked with or in some facet like wrote about or was like a peer of his, telling a story about how much they drove, like Hunter drove them insane, like being his friend and how like chaotic he was, but then also like how much they loved him because they knew he was like this very like tortured individual who was brilliant in his own regard and just didn't have really like any way of like letting it out aside from his work, and it was just kind of like a bizarre person, that facilitated these things behind, the typewriter. It's just, it does a very good job of like showing like documentaries need to rely on like circumstantial evidence, most of which in the form of testimonials of people that were like, involved with whatever event it is. It gives not only credibility to the source information of the documentary, but it ultimately does help give you like a face to like the experience, so that way you can understand like if something was traumatic, you can see how the person's reacting without it being like written on the page or being treated like just a like a court, like you're reading right off the stenographer's feed. I like that, and I think it's not only that I like that, but it's a very necessary function of a good documentary filmmaking, letting the subject kind of explain themselves. And I really liked Harry Dean Stanton was obviously the one that stuck out the most because I love Harry Dean and Busey, but Harry Dean sings Danny Boy at the end, which is like the utmost respect, especially coming from a legend like Harry Dean. And he only has like a couple nice things to say about him in the beginning, and just I really do I savor this because it's one of those things where it could be so much. It could be just like this puff piece, kind of like the documentary about Jordan that came out on Netflix. It's like 4 hours long, the dance or whatever. I don't fucking care. Who fucking gives a shit? I mean, yeah, he's a great basketball player. Don't get me fucking wrong. He's already got so much content on him. He's been one of the most influential players in the entire fucking sport. You don't need to make a 4 hour long document. It frustrates me, 30 for 30 about how he got beat by his dad or whatever, and then got kicked off his fucking JV basketball team, and then just goes on to fucking dunk on people for 18 years or whatever. I don't care. I don't care. It's Michael fucking Jordan. He was in Space Jam. Anything you really need to do, just read on his Wikipedia page. Hunter S Thompson, you need people that aren't sterile. You need people with personality, not just some fucking bland sports writer. You need someone that would immerse themselves in the subject that they're doing, but in the way that he does it, where you don't know what to believe. And I love that everybody in this film does take shots at his credibility too, which is fucking hilarious to me because he is such a fantastic writer. In fact, I was accused of being a overly enthusiastic storyteller by my good friend Yussel. He says that I like to embellish, but I think if it makes the story good without crossing any lines, I don't really give a shit as long as the story's entertaining. That's all that matters. That being said, this film does not disappoint if you just want to hear an hour and 15 minutes of people absolutely praising this dude. And it's great. I love the way that it's just nicely wound vignettes with a nice medley of because he's a very well documented person. He wasn't a hermit by any means, but people are just complimenting him to no end, but then also tearing him down because they're transparent, and that's the way he would have wanted it. And he was a person that stimulated discourse. He wanted people to talk about shit, understand each other, and achieve that higher learning that movie seems to have, especially documentaries right now seem to have this vacancy where it's just murder porn and no substance. That's all here. I think the fucking Making a Murderer really was a cool concept because they needed an 8-part series to tell this story, but it was because it was so complex. But Netflix realized we can just keep people on the platform, and the more they're on the platform, the more they'll watch our original content because we can stretch it out longer so they can binge watch, and chicks are lazy and eating comfort food and watching Netflix. Dudes do too. I like it, but it's I can't think of they either pretend they like football. There's maybe 3 girls I know that actually are diehard football fans, and the rest are just I wear a Steelers jersey because it's my favorite colors and it makes my butt look. Shut the fuck up. There's no authenticity to it. It's not what you like. You just like the attention you get because it's it makes you seem interesting when in fact you have no knowledge of it, but you don't really need knowledge of it. You can just let someone smarter do the talking for you and stand there and look pretty. I'm fucking frustrated with women right now, and that's coming from it's completely. I got a lot on my plate, and yeah, I'm gonna keep talking about Hunter for another 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna get on to why I'm so cranky. But yeah, let's break something down though. This is one of those films where if you don't know, I envy people. I had this thought the other day. I envy people that they are never going to hear something amazing for the first time again. And it's the first time, I was going to say this was in relation to me being very, very exhausted from work And I just was like listening to like a bunch of hardcore that I had on my fucking iPod, and like Minor Threat came on by Minor Threat, and it's like I literally love that band's my favorite band probably of all time. I have them and Black Flag tattooed on my body because I love both of their music, and it very much inspires me to be the cynical asshole while also being like clear-headed and trying to at least attempt to influence people to not only like enrich their own learning and enlighten themselves, but yeah, I don't know. Just live for something more than what your peers like. Doesn't matter what you're selling; it's what you're buying. I'm gonna be doing a lot of quoting here at the end too, by the way. But yeah, that's Fugazi. What the fuck ever. I don't fucking give a shit at this point. Yeah. So anyway, just like I like the independence and ideals of these bands, and like I am never going to hear Minor Threat by Minor Threat for the first time ever again, and that bums me out. Because I got to hear it for the first time twice. I got to hear it on the album, which was like I was like 16, maybe 17, and just like this is what I want. This is what I want to be. Like this is what I want to be about. Like I love this. And then I also like a couple of years later I found this documentary called the Another State of Mind, which followed Social Distortion and forget the other band. The Youth Brigade around on a tour of the United States. They do, and at one point they end up in D.C. And they play with Minor Threat, I guess, and you get to see Ian and Minor Threat playing in front of a crowd that they lost their microphone for some reason. I think the sound guys took their microphone back. And everybody just shouts it, and it's like one of those things where, like, even watching secondhand, it's like you're taken aback for a second. It's like and I got to experience it twice. I wish I had it a third time where I could hear it live by them, but the closest thing I had is goddamn Pennywise. Pennywise is a good band. I love Pennywise, but there's like I wish that people like I wish I could experience Hunter S Thompson for the first time again. I got to him so young too. I was 15 when I fucking found Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas on DVD. And like I was like, what the fuck is this all about? And I got on Wikipedia and looked it up. I wish that I could show this to someone who had no idea who he was. And I just like I'm envious of people. If you've never seen Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride, please, I implore you, watch this. If you have no idea who Hunter S Thompson is either, just fucking watch it. It'll blow your mind that people like this not only exist, but these are influential people. He was on the forefront of fucking adrenochrome before it was like even popular as a theory. Like we're talking, he wrote Fear and Loathing in like 1979, I think. 76, 77. Yeah, I think somewhere in there. But he he fucking wrote this book like 30, 40 years probably before like 4chan even existed, and it was like theorized that politicians are like chopping kids' heads off like as they come out of their mothers, and are like drained of their infant blood, which is used and like it has like adrenaline in it or whatever from being born and then dying suddenly. So like apparently they use that to make this like and like your adrenal gland and everything. Like people will just fucking apparently be human trafficked specifically for this reason. And this wasn't like back then, this wasn't even a thought, and he was attacking it. And it's like now if you like even watch like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like the movie, they mention it, and like it's one of those things where it's like that was there the whole fucking time, and this was like years ahead of when that was even a popularized theory. Like the first time I heard about it was probably like 2018, like around Pizzagate. 2016, 2017, I have no fucking idea. I was doing a shitload of the reefer back then. But yeah, it's an all-around good documentary. And if you have any respect or appreciation for him, or if you just have an appreciation for eccentrics in general, I highly recommend Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride. The quote is, buy the ticket, take the ride, but something about every time... With every year, the ride gets a little bit shorter and the tickets get a little bit more expensive. And like, dude, it's just like he's so like beautifully poetic when it comes to like just like dealing with living, in a world that you no longer really want to be a part of, but like are struggling to comprehend at the same time. And like you've like just lived in this constant state of agitation from that. Like, it must have been so fucking weird by the end of his life. But, you know, I highly recommend watching this film and trying to get, you know, he gets under your skin if you let him, is what like he says. And it's true, man. He's like, you're real, like, I've had it on the front of my mind since fucking finding out they're writing a new movie, or coming out with a new movie. All right, let me get it over with. I watched the fucking film. I'm going to link it in the description. But, yeah, so I got like 5 minutes. Dude, I just talked about waiting not too long ago. And there's something about people that I have never understood. And I'm going to get really weird and ranty here for a sec. And it's going to be like I'm up on my soapbox for the weird shit. I do not understand the appeal of eating out. I don't, like, I'm not talking about cunnilingus either. I'm talking about fucking, like, going out to a restaurant to eat. I do not get why people find this fucking appealing. And I don't know if it's just because I just dine where I dine. Like, I dine where I choose to eat McDonald's once a week just to get, like, carbohydrates. And then, like, the rest of the week I eat pretty fucking clean. I eat, like, grilled chicken and veggies and shit. And, like, rice, beans, chili. I love chili. Seafood, because I work in a seafood restaurant. Like, I'll bring some of that home. Like, I got shrimp salad tonight, which I'm looking forward to eating. Yeah, like, I don't understand what it is that's like appealing about going somewhere and having somebody serve you food that you could make for cheaper at your house. Like, I don't get that. And I've never, and my dad like pointed out like a couple of weeks ago, and it stuck with me. He's like, hey, you've never liked eating out. Like, what the fuck's this? Like, why are you like that? And I'm like, I just like, you could sit at home and like sit with like the TV off in your dining room and like set up candles and have like a nice time like at your house. And, like, you don't need to, like, bring another person into it that could, like, fuck your food up. Just cook the food to your liking and, like, do it the way you want. Like, get the equipment you need. And, like, because, like, we got, like, Cuisinart shit downstairs. I have a Fry Daddy around here somewhere. Like, if I really wanted to make restaurant quality food at my house, I have all the means. I have an oven and a 4-burner stove. I mean, albeit it's a shitty, like, electric stove, but still, it, like, you know, gets the job done. I make myself, like, burritos and fucking tacos and shit. Like, you know, but I don't get why you would want to pay someone else to fucking do that for you. I understand if you're in a pinch or like you work like a job and it's like I hit Wawa at least like 3-4 times a week. But like that's like I understand what I'm doing here. I'm just like I'm not like sitting somewhere and like pestering somebody and being like, yes, could you please refill my beverage, sir? I'm like, fucking why? But to the people that came in tonight, the New Yorkers, first off, joke's on them, I guess, but yeah, I think that's a podcast. Thanks for listening. Please watch Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride, and go see. I'm going to do an episode on Fear and Loathing in Aspen when it comes out. I'm also going to do one. I'm still trying to go see The Green Knight. I don't know. People are trying to talk me out of it. There's a couple of good movies coming up. I'm going to go on IMDb tonight and see what I got. But yeah, look out for look out for some of those. I'm going to go see something. Take it easy. Bye.